Hello and a very warm welcome indeed to this afternoon's iOB business webinar. Now, from wherever you're joining us in the world, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. We have some very, very exciting content lined up for you in today's webinar. Now, just a bit of ground rules, so to speak, before we get started for our webinars. If this is the first time that you're joining us on one of these lovely content-filled sessions, the essential layout of this is that we're going to do a brief introduction with myself. My name is Ben. I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business. And we're going to talk like this for a couple of minutes, just whilst we let everybody else join us and let everybody come into today's session. Second thing we're going to do is dive into about a 15 to 20 minute presentation where we're going to talk through today's topic, which is outsourcing and how to run your agency effectively with the use of this, okay? And then we're going to jump onto a Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to ask them throughout the webinar, because don't worry, they won't pop up on my screen or anything. They'll just go into the Q&A box so that I can reach them at the end for the Q&A session. Now, today's conversation, we're going to be talking about, of course, as we just mentioned, outsourcing and how to run your agency effectively with the use of it. Now, this content is going to be massively useful for you if you are a current agency owner, if you are a prospective agency owner and you're thinking about starting your own digital agency, or you are a veteran of the industry. Okay, so this content has been designed around you. Now, just whilst we're waiting for everybody else to join us, allow me to get us set up with today's presentation. Okay, so very, very shortly, you should see my screen. You should see now running your agency effectively with the use of outsourcing. Okay, so please just let me know if you can see that. Okay, what we're also going to do is switch off my camera so that we can focus on the presentation, and you should be able to still hear my voice. Okay, so let me know just before we get started in the chat box there if you can hear my voice okay, and if you can see the screen okay. All right, fantastic. So it looks like we are ready to rock and good to go with today's session then. Okay, so let's begin. Running your agency effectively with the use of outsourcing. Okay, so we're going to run through exactly what this means in just a moment. If you're unfamiliar with the term of outsourcing, we're going to cover just what that means as well. Okay, so bear with us and let's get started. Your presenter today is myself. My name is Ben, as we mentioned, and I am a professional business coach. What I do is I specialize in working with small businesses and helping them achieve stability and growth, okay? One of my main strengths as a business coach is working with digital agencies, okay? So I've been here, done that, got the t-shirt, and I have developed today's content around digital agency owners specifically, okay? So today's topics, we're going to speak about understanding your hourly value, number one. We're also going to cover creating accurate job roles. Okay, now we're going to move on to this in just a sec, and it'll make a lot more sense when we have spoke about topic number one. And finally, we're going to finish up today with finding the right help. Okay, so let's begin with topic number one. So just before we launch into today's session, if you do have any questions, once again, at the bottom of your screen or maybe somewhere else, you should have the Q&A box, okay? It will say Q&A and it's got two little text bubbles above it. If you have any questions for me, please fire them in there and we will get to them at the end of today's session. Okay, so beginning with understanding your hourly value, okay? Now you as an individual, okay, as an agency owner, as a leader of the business, and as a skilled individual will have a value, okay? So we cannot purely base our value on the business or on the things that we do, okay? We have to also look at us as an individual. Now, we are the leader of this business, we're the leader of this company, we're the leader of this digital agency, all right? So this is the position that we're in. Now, if we don't value ourselves, how can we expect anybody else to put value on us either, okay? So this is what we're gonna talk about today. First thing to do, assign an hourly value to your time. All right, now this is important, and it's important exercise. So if you have a pen handy, if you have a notepad handy, you have a laptop, start writing these things down, okay? Because we're going to talk about what this means for just a second here. So assigning an hourly value to your time allows you not only to develop an understanding of where you should and shouldn't be spending your time, it also allows you to begin to develop a basis for your fee charging, for building your business, and for building your growth personally as an individual and financially, okay? So the salient question you're going to have here is, well, Ben, okay, it's all very well and good. You saying assign an hourly value to your time, but what is that hourly value? Okay, is it £10 an hour? Is it £100 an hour? Is it £1,000 an hour? Okay, so there's a few factors that I want you to consider when we're looking at assigning an hourly value to your time. Okay, the first way that you can do this is consider your industry experience. Okay, now we always want to be paid fairly, but this also means that we have to charge fairly. Okay, so if we're not necessarily hardcore veteran experts and we haven't been around that long, but we are good at what we do, we can begin to establish a fair rate, okay? So there are various calculations that we can do to achieve this, all right? But first of all, I want you to work through these step by step. So the first thing is consider your experience. Are you a novice? Are you an intermediate? Are you an expert? Okay, so where are you on this scale? Are you just starting out, or have you been in the industry for a long time? Okay, now naturally with more experience will come more knowledge, more skill, more expertise. Okay, now what you also need to combine with this is the niche and complexity of your skill set. Okay, so do you do something that is broadly accessible? Do you do something that's not all that sort of rare? Is it quite a common thing that a lot of people can access and a lot of people can do? Okay, because the more niche you get, the more valuable your skill set becomes. Okay, so this is why as digital agencies, just on a side note here, we're always looking to add unique angles. We're always looking to be better in some way. How can we add that unique selling point? How can we gain an advantage on everybody else in the industry? Okay, so when we're looking at assigning an hourly value to your time, these are two things to consider. Okay, the third thing to consider is your demographic for your ideal client. Okay, now it depends, of course, how much you can charge based on how much money the people that you charge, how much do they earn, okay? So we're going right back to basics here. If you're working with tiny baby businesses like cafes on a high street, or even smaller, you know, like service-based businesses, jet washing, things like that, you can't realistically expect to be able to charge £500 an hour, £1,000 an hour for your time here, when these companies would be lucky to earn that, you know, in a week or even a month, okay? So we need to be sort of, you know, thinking about how much are they earning, and realistically, how much could I look to charge them? Therefore, how much could we earn, and how much could I earn as an individual? Okay. So the absolute final element to consider here, okay, point number 4, when we're looking at assigning an hourly value to your time, okay, we're going to use this for a separate calculation later on, but it's also important to figure out what you must earn in a month's period. Okay. Now, this is a different topic for a different day, but I am going to touch on it here because I feel that it's important. In any given month, we as an individual and we as a business will have to earn a certain amount of money. Okay. Now, whatever that means, whether we have to pay for the overheads, the office that we have, the software that we use, the family that we need to feed, the roof that we need to keep over our heads, and the car that we need to get us to work. Okay. Everybody will have an X in front of the number that they need to earn. Okay. And whatever that amount is, X amount of money is needed. So if it's £1,000, you need to make sure that your hourly value is going to bring you to that £1,000 mark. If it's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, the same theory, the same logic applies. Okay, so take this information, calculate backwards. Okay, figure out how many hours you would have to work to earn the amount of money that you need. Okay, that is your 4 steps for calculation. So hopefully you had a chance to write that down on a notepad or on an iPad or on a MacBook, or however you chose to write it down. Okay, so let's move on. Okay. Second thing I would like you to do, okay, and a very, very good tip for this, as you can read on the screen here, assess the tasks that you conduct on a regular basis. Okay, now the reason that this is important is because often as individuals, we do an awful lot of things that we don't even realize that we're doing. Okay, we spend too long checking our emails, we spend too long organizing files, we spend time updating our Facebook profile, or some of us even spend time browsing on our social media during work hours, when really we know that we should be doing something that brings profit towards the business. Okay, so when I ask you to assess the tasks that you conduct on a regular basis, there is a very, very good reason for this. And we're going to talk about that in topics 2 and 3 today. Okay. But to begin with, assessing the tasks that you conduct on a regular basis, the easiest way to do this is just keep what I call a work journal. Okay. A work journal, work diary, work calendar, however you want to note it down. Okay. Now, this is the regular tasks. Okay. The tasks that you conduct on a regular basis. Now, what you can do is just keep a notepad by your side. And on any given day, Monday through Friday, or whatever days you work, just keep a brief note of things that you do on a regular basis. Okay. So are you constantly on your emails? Are you constantly updating your social media? Are you constantly having a meeting with clients? Okay. Assess the tasks that you conduct on a regular basis. Now take this information from me now, make yourself a plan to get that diary or get a notepad by your side and begin writing down what these tasks are. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you why in topics 2 and 3 of today's webinar, today's presentation. Okay. But for now, bear this in mind, okay? So, third thing I want you to consider, what are these tasks valued at, okay? What would you expect to pay someone for doing them? Now, when we're speaking specifically about today's topic, okay, we're on the conversation of outsourcing, we're on the conversation of understanding what our hourly value is. Now, for those of you that are just joining us, we did a brief calculation on the hourly value that we've been assessing how much we as individuals and leaders of the business are worth, okay? Now, the third point we're talking about today is what are these tasks valued at in line with the tasks that we do on a regular basis, okay? What would you expect to pay someone, okay? Now, the fourth point is going to come into play here as well. So let's put these two together. okay? If you are doing administration for your business, okay? If you are organizing files, if you are updating your Facebook profile, if you are sending emails to clients, or you're booking meetings yourself, or you're organizing paperwork, or you're filling out paperwork, better yet, drawing up proposals, these kinds of things, okay? What are these tasks valued at? In essence, how much would you pay someone to do administration work, okay? And how much would you value your hourly time at, okay? So now you see, we're beginning to establish a differentiating factor between how much our time is worth. So let's say that we assign an hourly value of £50 to ourselves, and we catch ourselves organizing files, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you have to value every hour of every day, okay? But the hours I do want you to value is the hours that you spend in the office, or the metaphorical office if you work from home, okay? How much time are you spending at work, and how much of it are you spending doing things that is not really to the value of your time, okay? So let's just say that you value your time at £50 an hour, okay? This is a fair calculation based on your experience, your skill set, your target demographic, and the money that you need to earn in any given month, the 4 pillars there, okay? So if your hourly value is £50 and you're doing administration work that you've just told me you would value at £10 per hour, why are you doing that? Are you not then consequently costing yourself and the business money? Okay. Now, in point number 4, where we say consider if your time could be spent completing more profitable tasks, we should be focusing ourselves on higher value, higher paying tasks. If you were to pay someone £50 an hour to do something, would you pay them £50 an hour to organize files or update your Facebook page? Okay. Chances are unlikely, very unlikely. Okay. If you could spend your time doing more profitable tasks, would you pay £50 an hour to a salesman who is bringing in new leads for you? The answer is probably yes. Would you pay £50 an hour to someone who is running lead generation campaigns and bringing lots of potential new leads your way? Absolutely, yes. Would you pay £50 to a very, very skilled financial assistant who took care of the books for your business? Probably, again, yes. Okay, so have a look at the higher value tasks. Now, specifically, what we also want to be focusing on is income-driven tasks. Okay, what tasks that will create and produce income for the company? Because without income, there is no business, and without the business, there is unfortunately nothing for you to earn. Okay, so we should always be predominantly focused on assigning an hourly value to ourselves and understanding the value of us, understanding the value of the tasks that we do on a regular basis and how much these are actually worth. Okay, because there's likely to be a big deficit. And finally, we want to consider where we're spending our time. Okay, we want to consider if we're truly maximizing the value of our time by focusing on things that will produce income for our digital agencies. Okay, so as we said earlier on in the presentation, if you are a newcomer to the industry, if you're an intermediate, if you're a veteran, or if you're just in the prospective phase of thinking about one day owning your digital agency, this is knowledge that you need to know, okay? Because I can save you so much time and so much potential money from not being earned, okay? Because we need to make sure that we're focusing on the right areas of our business. So we're going to move on now to topic 2. If you have any questions for me from topic 1, please note them in. I saw that we had a few people join halfway through topic 1. So if you did have any questions about the earlier points, fire them through for me and we will get to them at the end of today's session. Okay, so number 2, okay, creating accurate job roles. Now, the reason we're going to talk about this, okay, is to reference our earlier point of our own time being valued at £50 an hour, the outsourced time being valued at £10 an hour for administration work, okay? This theory is the only simple point I want you to keep in mind when I start talking about this next topic, okay? How much would you pay someone to do most of the mundane tasks that you find yourself doing? Certainly not £50 an hour, okay? So let's get started. Now, okay, Ben, you've told me that I need to stop spending time doing administration tasks and start spending time doing more income-driven tasks. Okay, fine. So that theory is there. So the next question you might have is, well, how on earth do I find someone, or how do I find the right person to help me do that? Okay, and the first place to begin is creating an accurate job role. So we're going to talk about this. And in the next slide, in topic number 3, I'm going to show you how to find the right help, okay, and where to look. So let's begin, okay? First thing you want to do is conduct an assessment on your business as a whole, okay? So like I said, if you don't have a digital agency yet, you can become very familiar with the tasks that a digital agency owner will do. And even you can reference yourself, if you work in the marketing world or you work even in the corporate world in any way, you can write down the tasks that you do on a daily basis to give yourself an idea now of the low value versus high value tasks, okay? Because it's very, very likely that in any given day, you will do a combination of low value and high value tasks. And the lower value tasks are the ones that we want to begin to isolate and understand with our business, okay? So the second thing you can do then is assess the areas you are spending considerable time on. Okay, so what the two main reasons that anybody outsources is, number one, because we're spending way too much time. We're working 16-hour days, we're working 12-hour days even, or even working 10 to 8-hour days. Okay, if we consider that too much, like I said, because we have families, because we have other things we'd like to do, okay, because we want to automate and make our business more efficient, okay, overworking is one of the main reasons that somebody would choose to outsource. Okay, they're spending too much time in the business and not enough time on the business. Okay, in and on. In is conducting all the work for yourself. On the business is improving it, refining it, and streamlining it. Okay, so consider areas of the business that you're spending considerable time, i.e. overworking. Now, the second reason that someone would choose to outsource is because they've realized that they're either not earning enough money or they're missing out on potential money to be earned, okay? So if they physically cannot take on another client that would earn them a lot more money because they're spending too much time taking care of administration work for their other clients, then there's an obvious financial opportunity being missed there, okay? So we need to be able to isolate these areas, and we need to have a bit of a vision for the financial health of our business and actually understand, well, if I'm telling myself that I don't have time, okay, is it because my time management isn't as good as it could be? Or is it because I'm spending too much time doing tasks that aren't really worth my time, okay? So tasks like this always need to be done, but that doesn't mean to say that you yourself have to do it, okay? So first thing to do, assess the lower value tasks in your business. Now this will come from your regular task diary that we discussed in topic number 1. Number 2, assess the areas you're spending considerable time on overworking, okay? Number 3, assess how you would like help. Now, this might seem like the obvious question, okay? But we not only need to figure out what someone is going to be doing for us, okay? So maybe someone's going to be taking care of our social media, fine. Maybe they're going to be organizing files, fine. They're going to be creating videos or content, whatever, fine, okay? But we can't just think about the job itself. We need to also consider how the job is going to be completed and how often it's going to be done, okay? So when I say this, it essentially means, well, what are your expectations of them? Okay, how quickly do you expect these things to be done? How would you like it to be done? Would you like the person to be intuitive? Would you like the person to be proactive? Would you like the person to provide you with content? Would you like them to do research? Okay, so we not only need to figure out, okay, well, they're just going to post on social media for me. Okay, well, that's one thing. But the second thing you need to figure out is, well, how are they going to post on social media? Are they going to interview me? Are they going to get research for themselves? Are they going to do industry research? Are they going to conduct, research on our business? Are they going to take photographic content of the office and the things that we're doing in the client meetings? Are they going to make videos to promote our company? How are they going to work? Okay, so you need to figure this out. And also how often, okay? How many times are they going to be coming to the office? Are they going to be working from home? And we're going to cover this in just a second in more detail on topic number 3, okay? But you yourself need to think, well, how would I like help? Would I like someone to be continually in contact with me? Would I like someone to be actually pretty independent because I prefer not to speak too often? Okay, I don't really want to talk to them over the phone. I don't really want to be talking over email all the time. I need somebody who's proactive and independent. Okay, so it's important that you begin thinking how you would like the help. Okay, so not just the stuff that you actually need done on paper, but more importantly, and well, if not of equal importance, maybe more, how they're actually completing the job itself. Okay, and how often, how many hours they're spending. Okay, now, the final point that I do have to share with you on this, okay, is that you must allow room for expansion and development for the skill set of this individual. Now, what we must remember is that a lot of people have worked for other companies, or maybe they've had their own experience, maybe they've been working for themselves at one point, they want to move on to work with an established agency. Okay, now the reason that we must allow room for expansion essentially means that it will take someone, anyone, a little bit of time to indoctrinate themselves and even working with you to begin to learn about your company culture, your business culture. How do you work? How do you like to speak to your clients? What type of content do you like to post? Okay, so often we find that a willingness and an eagerness to learn and expand and develop themselves can be just as valuable as the actual skill set that they have on paper, okay? So if you're speaking with someone or you're interviewing them and you're finding that actually you're very, very sharp, you're very intelligent, and I feel like you could learn what I need you to learn, don't undervalue this, okay? Just because they don't have a marketing diploma doesn't mean that they're not willing to learn and even potentially be better one day than those who do have the diploma. Okay, so we need to allow room for expansion when we're looking at these individuals, and we can't expect them to do everything from the offset. So once you've created your accurate job role, you've figured out you've assessed the items that you need somebody to do for you, and you've also assessed how you would like someone to do this, you need to be aware that, okay, well, they're not going to hit the ground running at 110 miles an hour, but we can pick up someone who's already got some experience, already got some skill set, but this massive willingness to learn means that I can help shape them into the perfect individual to help assist me. Okay, so just be aware that this is not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if you can begin working with the right individual. Okay, now, any questions? As always, pop them in the Q&A box and I will grab them at the end of today's presentation for you. Okay, so finishing up now with topic number 3, our third and final topic, we're going to be talking about finding the right help. Okay, so the first thing that we did in today's presentation, we ran through exactly what it means to value yourself and value your own time. Second thing we talked about was creating accurate job roles and understanding the type of help that we might need. Now, today's presentation is all about running your agency effectively with the use of outsourcing. So this key message so far is to make sure that you're valuing your own time and you're not spending too much of it doing stuff that isn't worth your time when you could be out there earning more money. Okay, so now we have discussed the type of help that you might need. How are we going to find it? Okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to list the necessary skill set of your potential candidate. Okay, now these are the absolute must-haves. So this is when we're coming down to creating the accurate job role. We need to make sure that we're listing the exact things. Now, essentially what we're saying here is don't apply unless you have this. Okay, now this will save us a lot of time. And whilst I said that they need to be able to expand and grow as an individual, I also said that they need to have some necessary items. So list the necessary skill set, okay? What do they have in terms of mathematical expertise if they're in marketing? What do they have in terms of mathematical expertise if they're salespeople? Are they good with money? Are they good with numbers? Are they good with people? Okay, what necessary skill set do you need? Are they great at talking to people? Are they confident? Are they happy? Are they happy to travel and go outside the office if you need them to? Okay, list the necessary skill set of your potential candidate. Now, skill set can be physically on paper. Okay, what are you great at? Are you brilliant at creating paid advertising campaigns? But it can also be certain things that they have talent in. Okay, if they're very, very skilled at naturally being creative with photography, for example, okay, that's also a skill. So it's important to incorporate these different elements and things that you need. Okay, so second thing that you need to do is list the necessary proficiencies of your potential candidate. Now, once again, what would be massively advisable for me, but also very helpful for you, is if you did have a little notepad here or something to write down on and just list these items if you are going to look to outsource now or in the near future. Okay, so list the necessary proficiencies of your potential candidate. Now, the reason the proficiency is different to a skill set is it because this is something that, yeah, we can do that. Okay, so are you proficient in Excel, for example? Are you proficient in PowerPoint? Are you proficient with social media? Okay, all kinds of social media: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Okay, what are your proficiencies and what would you need? Okay, so being proficient in something isn't necessarily declaring it as a skill set, but it means, yes, I can do that and I can become better at it. Okay, so proficiency is, yeah, we can take care of that if we need me to. Okay, so this would often fall under the bracket of, okay, well, I need you to be able to build good rapport with people. I need you to be proficient in social media. I need you to have a certain skill set, such as, you know, I need your maths to be at a certain level in order to achieve these sales numbers for me. Okay, things like this. So list the skill set, secondarily list the proficiencies. All right, now the next thing you're going to have to do, when we're talking earlier about how to ask for the right type of help, okay, you're going to have to list the time obligations of your potential candidate. Now, there's two ways that you're going to want to work this out. Okay, the first is figuring out how much you're willing to pay this person. Okay, now we have the living wage at a certain number. I think it's, you know, around about the, you know, 10, 11 pounds mark. It depends what age you're looking at hiring at. But if we're outsourcing, we can also be looking at sort of slightly cheaper ways. Okay, so we can outsource overseas, we can outsource even in the UK, but often outsourcing is a lot cheaper than hiring in-house or even contracting sometimes. Okay, now what you'll find with outsourcing is that often the skill set isn't going to be as complex or as capable as a specific export contractor or even hiring in-house, essentially. Okay, but outsourcing is your most cost-efficient option to get started with. So the reason that this is so important, figuring out how much you're going to pay, is because then you can assess how much time you can afford from said individual. okay? So if you need them for a certain amount of time, if you say, right, okay, well, roughly every week I spend about 5 hours doing administration work, so I'm probably going to need that person for around about 5 hours, okay? So the time obligations are, you must meet X amount of time. I may need you for less, I may need you for more, okay? But the point is, I'm asking you to make yourself available every day, week, month, year, whatever, for this amount of time so that I can delegate these tasks to you, okay? So affordability versus how much time you spend on regular tasks, you combine them, and that will give you the time obligations of your potential candidate, okay? Now, you also need to do, and just finally here, evaluate importance of industry experience, okay? So is it a fairly niche, a fairly expertise corner of the industry, so to speak, you're going to need help with, or is it something a bit more universal, okay? So when we're talking about industry experience here, we're looking at, okay, well, can I take someone who is literally brand new to the industry, literally has never worked in the industry before, okay? Because often this would become useful when, say, someone is going to help you with basic tasks, okay? So something like file organization or just generally keeping your calendar for you, okay? It's unlikely that you will really need them to have an awful lot of industry experience. However, if they're going to be helping you with client campaigns, if they're going to be helping develop paid advertising campaigns, social media, whatever, there's a good chance that these individuals will need some form of industry experience, okay? Because it will help them pivot themselves from wherever they were before into their work with you pretty easily, okay? However, if you just need them to do more basic tasks, it's very unlikely that any industry experience would be necessary. But it's important that you yourself evaluate the necessity for this industry experience, okay? This very, very common mistake that I see fairly often is that we'll be hiring people with little to no experience to come in and do a somewhat of a complex or niche task, okay? And ultimately, that ends with us not being able to hire the perfect candidate or being stuck with someone that can't necessarily do the job for us, okay? And it's an unfortunate circumstance that I would much, much, much rather you avoided, okay? So that brings us to the end of topic number 3. So let's do a quick recap on the summary for today, okay? First of all, you need to understand your personal value. Now, remember the 4 pillars that we discussed, okay? Experience, skill set, necessities, and really where you fit in, okay? So figure out how long you've been in the industry. Are you a novice? Are you an intermediate? Or are you an expert, okay? Where does that fit in to begin with? How much money do you need to earn, okay? How niche are you as an individual? All these things must be considered, okay? So this will be recorded, this content, if you need to flick back through. Unfortunately, we don't have time to run through all of it again, but I would love to answer any questions that you have because we're just about to dive onto a Q&A session here in just a second, okay? Now, second thing, understand where you need help, okay? Understand the elements of your business. Make sure that you're keeping a diary of your tasks, that you're understanding how your time is spent, because often we will find that we will pick up things we didn't even realize that we were doing. We're spending time in areas that we didn't even realize we were, okay? So understand where you need help. And third, and certainly not least, understand how to find the help, okay? But make sure that you're putting in the right skill set, the right proficiencies, because if you get this wrong, you're going to get all kinds of incorrect applications to your business, and it's not going to be what you want or what you need, okay? So I've just seen one question pop in there. We're just going to get to that in 1 second, okay? So 3 recap points. Understand your personal value, understand where you need help, and understand how to find the help, okay? So that does bring us to the Q&A session. So a very, very big thank you to those of you that have joined us today. It's been a real pleasure presenting to you. If you'd like to go and have a look at what we do, go to iob-business.com, and I am just going to flick on to our questions in just a moment, okay? So bear with me. I've just seen that we've got another one coming there. So we've got 2 to answer now, okay? The first one I have here is, when would I know if outsourcing was important for me? Okay, and this is a very good question. It's actually something we didn't cover in the presentation, so very, very well picked up. Okay, when would I know if outsourcing was important? Okay, now really here, the key question is not just when, but if it could help your agency generate more cash flow. Okay, so my answer to this question is always the same. It's not necessarily when, it's if. Okay, could this help me? Now, what we discussed in particular, okay, there's no given timeline. It might not be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever, okay? There's no specific amount of time that we would necessarily say, okay, at this point in time, you should begin outsourcing, okay? But there will come a necessity where you are limiting yourself from earning additional income, okay? So let's just say that you have a client waiting on the sidelines, ready to come and work with you, but you're not taking them on because you're too busy spending your £50 an hour hourly value on £10 administration tasks. Therefore, you're taking up time that could be used on a valuable new client, instead organizing files. So it would make sense to pay someone £10 an hour to go and do this job for you, so that you could then bring in an additional £50 an hour, which is £40 net profit, okay, to come and bring in that extra work for you. Yeah. So that simple calculation, outsource the £10 an hour, but don't look at it as an expense, because now with that free time, you can bring in £50 in that hourly value instead. Okay. So I hope that that helped. Okay, perfect. So next question we have, how can I keep track of regular tasks? Okay, so this must be for someone that joined us just after. Okay, so we're talking about it again at the end. So happy to rerun through this. So someone's asking here, how can I keep track of my regular tasks? Okay, this is something that we need to do on a regular basis to understand how we work. What jobs do we do and what jobs do we not even realize that we're doing? Okay, but if we can keep this regular diary like we discussed. Okay, so my answer to you today, just to summarize, simple diaries are great for this. Okay, so as a digital agency owner, you should keep track of your time for a minimum of 2 weeks to understand where your time is being spent. Okay, 2 weeks is what I would always advise. It's enough time to pass, but it's not too much time that you'll be doing it obsessively for a long time. It's just about the right amount of time to get a track and a good idea of the tasks that you conduct on a regular basis. So if you just missed that little bit that we did earlier on in today's presentation, just simply get a little diary next to you and note down. It doesn't have to be in great detail, just a brief task note. So say, okay, well, I had 2 meetings today, and then I spent an hour on emails, and then I spent 2 hours sending invoices, and then, you know, I finished my day and I had a cup of coffee or whatever. Okay, but essentially, if you're tracking this on a daily basis, it will prove to be of interest to you, because you will find yourself doing things that you didn't realize that you were doing. Okay, so hopefully that helps summarize that point for you. Okay, I'm just going to do a little check and see if we have any more questions in for today's presentation. Okay, so it looks like that is us. Looks like we are all set for today. Okay, so as always, it has been a real pleasure presenting to you today. I hope the content was valuable, and I very much look forward to seeing you again 2 weeks from today, where we'll be doing another one of these iOB business webinars. All the best, have a great day, and bye for now.